Hi everyone, Jody Genealogy, and yes, it is raining, and today we're gonna dive into Morbid Monday, the creepy stuff today. Today we're talking about missing ship, a vanished airliner, and whispers of gangsters in town. We are along the shore of South Haven, Michigan. Now, Michigan holds more secrets than you would ever realize. I'm struggling. Change positions here. Okay. Hi everybody, Jody, and tonight we're taking a journey in the rain. We're gonna go to the deeper side of history in South Haven, Michigan. They picture beautiful beaches, stunning sunsets, and charming lakeside town. But hidden beneath that peaceful image, stories of gangsters, mysterious disappearances, deadly shipwrecks, and one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. We're going to explore the waterfront and the district known as the Rotten Row, where sailors and troublemakers. The old town used to be filled with saloons and a lot of gangsters and wild and crazy stuff. We'll uncover some rumors of South Haven, from the Prohibition to the legends surrounding the infamous Chicago gangsters. Then we'll venture out into the waters of Lake Michigan to examine the chilling disappearance of the steamer Cora and the haunting mystery of Northwest Orient Flight 2501. It was a passenger plane that took off from New York and right behind me disappeared into Lake Michigan, never to be found again. Now pieces have washed up and bodies washed ashore, and they've never found the plane again. As a genealogist and history lover, every name has a story, and every community holds secrets waiting to be discovered. Tonight we're uncovering South Haven's most mysterious mysteries. And now we're on to the Rotten Row, South Haven's roughest street. In the late 1800s, South Haven was a booming port town. Steamships arrived daily. Lumber, fruit, and manufactured goods followed through the harbor. Sailors, dock workers, and travelers filled the streets. With all the activity came something else: alcohol, gambling, and violence. One section of town became so notorious that the locals gave it a nickname, Rotten Row. The area was near the waterfront, and it was packed with saloons and taverns. Sailors who spent days battling the unpredictable waters of Lake Michigan often arrived looking for strong drinks and lots of entertainment. And they found plenty of both. Bar fights were common, arguments over money, cards, and alcohol sometimes turned violent. Police were frequently called to break up all these disturbances. The district developed a reputation as the place respectable citizens tried to avoid, especially after dark. Imagine the scene: gas lamps flickering in the darkness, the smell of cigars and whiskey drifting from the salon doors, men stumbling through muddy streets after midnight, music spilling from the taverns, shouting, fighting, and complete chaos. Although South Haven eventually cleaned up its waterfront image, echoes of Rotten Row remain one of the town's most colorful and notorious chapters. Did Al Capone hide near South Haven? No Michigan mystery would be complete without a gangster story. For decades, local rumors have claimed that members of Chicago's criminal underworld, including the infamous Al Capone, used Lake Michigan's shoreline as a refuge during Prohibition. The 1920s were a dangerous time. The federal government banned alcohol. Millions of Americans, however, ignored this law. Criminal organizations made fortunes supplying illegal liquor. Chicago became the center of organized crime, and Capone became its most famous figure. Because South Haven sits directly across from Lake Michigan from Chicago, many locals believed that gangsters traveled secretly between the two cities. Stories spread of hidden meetings at lakeside cottages, of speedboats crossing the lake under cover of darkness, of bootleg liquor being moved through remote stretches of the shoreline. Did Capone actually come to South Haven? There is solid evidence of this, but that's what makes this story fascinating. The possibility remains just believable enough to keep the legend alive. Even today, residents occasionally share stories passed down through generations. But suspicious visitors, secret gatherings, and unexplained activity along the shoreline happened during the Prohibition. Whether this is true or not, the legend has become part of South Haven's mysterious folklore. Now we have the vanishing Chicora. We move from the gangsters to one of Great Lakes' most chilling mysteries. January 21 of 1895, the passenger steamer Chicora departed Chicago carrying passengers and crews bound for South Haven. Winter storms were common on Lake Michigan, which still are, but Chicora was considered capable of handling rough conditions. Shortly after its departure, conditions deteriorated. Winds intensified, visibility dropped. Then something terrifying happened. The Chicora vanished, completely vanished. No distress signal, no confirmed sightings, no survivors, nothing. 24 people disappeared into Lake Michigan. Families waited in South Haven for loved ones who never arrived. Hours turned into days, days turned into weeks. Search efforts found virtually no evidence. The lake had swallowed the vessel whole. Over a century later, historians still debate the fate of Chicora. Did towering waves overwhelm the ship? Did ice accumulate on the vessel until it became unstable? Did a mechanical failure boom everyone on board? Nobody knows. The wreck remains one of Lake Michigan's greatest mysteries. For the families that were left behind, there was no closure, only silence. The flight of 2501, Michigan's greatest aviation mystery. If Chicora mystery sounds unsettling, what happened in 1950 may be even more disturbing. On the night of June 23 of 1950, Northwest Orient Flight 2501 left New York bound for Minneapolis. On board were 55 passengers and 3 crew members. As aircraft approached Lake Michigan, weather conditions deteriorated rapidly. Thunderstorms developed. Strong winds battered the area. The pilot requested permission to descend to a lower altitude. Before the clearance could be granted, communication completely ended. the plane disappeared somewhere over Lake Michigan, and residents near South Haven later reported hearing unusual sounds over the lake during the storm. Others recalled seeing flashes in the darkness. The next morning, debris began washing ashore. Seat cushions, pieces of wreckage, personal belongings, and human remains. It became clear that Flight 2501 had crashed. All 58 people aboard were completely killed. Yet, despite the extensive searches spanning decades, investigators never located the main wreckage. Think about that. An entire commercial airliner vanished. The largest pieces have never been recovered. Modern search teams continue looking for answers. Advanced sonar technology has explored sections of the lake floor. Potential targets have even been identified. Expeditions have returned year after year after year, and still, this mystery remains unsolved. Somewhere beneath Lake Michigan and this water that we're looking at right now, the remains of Flight 2501 still lay hidden in the lake, just waiting.
There was nobody famous on this, but each person was so significant to their families. Their loss was something that was almost incomprehensible, especially when you don't have a body.
A boulder with a black inscription scrawled across its face marks what was, at the time, the deadliest commercial airlines accident in American history. This stone in a South Haven cemetery, the final resting place for many of its victims, even though no complete body was ever recovered.
This shows you, more than any other artifact, the devastation caused by this accident. Here's his name on his barber kit.
All that's left are pieces and parts.
Pieces like this flap, pieces like this clamp. These are not from this plane, they're from other DC-4s, but that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for a whole airplane.
Airport on a cross-country flight to Seattle. With 58 souls on board, it crossed over Lake Michigan in the early morning hours of June 24, 1950, and disappeared.
The government only searched for the wreckage for 1 week. They gave up. They said it was going to be impossible to find.
The last the world heard from the fated flight was from its pilot, requesting a drop in altitude to navigate an approaching storm.
His decision to continue across the lake is what made this, a fatal crossing of Lake Michigan.
In the following days, Lake Michigan gave up its dead. Body parts washed ashore at beaches just before the 4th of July holiday. The mayor...
Okay, so here's a little interesting tidbit that I seen on Find a Grave, and I'm seeing like a little bit all over the internet, and I just thought I would read some of this here. And this is the Northwest Flight 2501. And the nice thing about Find a Grave is when you go down here, sometimes there are stories when people have volunteered and they've entered this information and they've actually shared a story, which is great. So here we go. So here it basically says that there were 2 burial sites and only pieces of them have washed ashore, which is really horrible to think about. It was 22 men, 27 women, and 6 children that washed to the shores of Lake Michigan between Benton Harbor and South Haven. So these remains were put in 2 separate mass graves, which is, it kind of just blows my mind because I'm just thinking, why were they in mass graves? Okay, well, I kind of get it. It was just like little bitty pieces. But however, this is so disturbing to even think about. Why were they in 2 separate cemeteries and 2 separate mass graves? That's what I don't understand whatsoever. Okay, so anyway. They are in Riverview Cemetery And this is where Riverview is right here. And if you can just Google it too, if you want to Google it and find it, if you ever want to look yourself, and they actually have a map of how to get here too, if you wanted to actually visit in person. And here's the disturbing thing, and it talks about there were not actual plaques, I guess, until pretty recently, which also blows my mind. This is very nice, and it was donated by a family funeral home. Very nice. And here is a sign to where it is. That is so great when people take the time on Find a Grave and volunteers to actually, have a memorial for these people. Can you imagine? They were in unmarked graves and mass unmarked graves, two separate locations. Here it talks about that the granite marker was donated by the Fildbrandt family funeral home and was placed in Riverview Cemetery, and now lists the names, which is so important. Thank goodness. That's so kind and so nice. Of 58. And the words of memory of Northwest Flight 2501, June 23 of 1950, gone but never forgotten. Now it says another mass burial site was discovered in 2015, this many years later, at Lakeview Cemetery in South Haven. The site had long been unmarked until the cemetery sexton, Mary Ann Fraser, and her mother, Beverly Smith, were working on a genealogy project and found it. Yay, ladies! The women contacted Valerie Van Heist, an expert of the Flight 2501, and together they planned a memorial service before the 65th anniversary. Brandt organized the service, which was led by Pastor Robert Lindstrom, and St. Joe Monument Works donated the marker for the gravesite. It was delivered to the cemetery a few days before the 65th anniversary of the crash. It took that long. Oh my goodness. And then it just goes on to say a remembrance service was held at the gravesite in South Haven, where they read off the 58 victims' names. Well, it was about time that they got a marker. Can you imagine 58 people? Two different places, mass grave, unmarked, and now, this many years later. Oh my goodness. So then here is the other one in Lakeview Cemetery. It's a little different. But hey, at least it's something. And this was the second set of remains that were washing ashore. So most of the first set was in the other cemetery, and the rest of them are here, if you can imagine how disturbing that really sounds. So it's basically just, a big rock. If you want to visit your family, say, wait, you got to go to two different places to visit Aunt Mabel? I don't know. Okay. It seems really odd to me. But sometimes in genealogy, we find these little odd mysteries. So I just thought I'd share with you that you can Google that again on Lakeview Cemetery or Northwest Flight 2501. Find a Grave, that's how I found it. Find a Grave is an excellent resource in your genealogy searches and searching into history. Now, Lake Michigan is absolutely beautiful. It can be deadly, and storms can also appear without complete warning. Now waves become enormous. The fog moves in. And over the years, countless vessels have disappeared behind me in these rigid waters. Many have been found and some have not. The waters of South Haven have witnessed shipwrecks, drownings, disappearances, and tragedies, stretching back many, many generations. Now, each mystery leaves questions, and each question has a story. Now, maybe that's why some people remain fascinated with South Haven's darker side. It's not because of what we know, but it's because of what we don't know. The missing ship, the vanished plane, the rumors of gangsters, the secrets resting beneath the waves. As darkness falls over the lighthouse and the lake turns black beneath the moonlight, it's easy to understand why these stories refuse to die. Because somewhere beyond the pier, beneath the cold waters of Lake Michigan, is a history. that is still keeping its secrets. And some secrets may never be solved. This is Jody Genealogy. I hope you enjoyed this little dark history step back into time. If you like these stories, like, subscribe, and share it if you would. Have a great day, everybody. Bye. I'm gonna go enjoy the walk.